Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 135 of our Be a Better You annual challenge. And today our topic is your emergency fund and your financial health. What and how do they work together to help secure your financial future and to make sure that when life's little incidences happen, you are prepared and you will not be extra stressed out or devastated. Whenever there's a medical emergency, a loss of a job, or a changing of hands of a company that threatens your job, or events or something that happens, an emergency in your family, something breaks down, heaven forbid, your car, or there's something that happens to your home that you need to pay to replace and fix. Life has a way of showing us and giving us all kinds of challenges in the least expected time. So one of the things that we all have the ability to do is to be prepared, to take our mindset from doubt, worry, fear of the unknown, and making sure, and scarcity mentality, and making sure that we are prepared. So we're shifting from being at the whims of the universe and the world and what happens to us from outside of us to being prepared. And that's what an emergency fund allows us to do. Now, I'll share 5 steps to set up an emergency fund, but why would you want to have one? I think that it's self-evident, but you have to ask yourself, why do you want to have an emergency fund? And I wasn't going to share this, but I will share. When I had my first job out of college, I was not particularly fiscally responsible yet. I bought a new car, I bought a house, I did all kinds of things thinking that nothing would ever change. Well, 5 years later, I found myself out of a job. And if it weren't for the kindness of my parents and their help and guidance, I would have lost my home to foreclosure. And I'm very grateful that I didn't, because I wouldn't want to have dealt with the impact that had on my finances for decades. It's usually decades to recover from something like that. They say it's only 7 years, but it takes longer than 7 years because there's a snowball effect of a financial loss or something that happens like that. Anybody that's had an illness in their family or something knows that. And if you watch it, your credit rating takes a huge hit. And you'll notice I'm not talking about credit ratings at all this month. I think that they are a big business and they're designed to keep us down, to actually create the lowest possible score they can for us so that they can charge more money to the people they sell our lists to. Because if your credit score is low, they can charge you more interest for things. It's a big money shuffling scam, in my opinion. And so I don't even spend a day talking about it. It's something that you can pay attention to if it's important to you. But there's other things that we can do that are in our control that are more important to set us up for success financially than worrying about a number that's created by some third party. So we'll talk about how to set up an emergency fund. But the first thing you have to ask yourself is, have you done one? Have you got an emergency savings account that you don't touch unless something unexpected happens out of the ordinary? And it isn't, buying some luxury thing. It's usually something bad that happens or catastrophic that happens. Your grandmother passes away and you need to fly to Georgia for the funeral, or your best friend in high school has a health crisis, and you need to fly out and help them, or your car breaks down, or your house. We know what emergencies are. But do you have a cushion, a little shield of protection financially to weather the storms like that? Or do you have to borrow high interest forms of payment, or dig into your retirement and your savings accounts, etc.? Those are the last things we want to do. I think people don't realize the impact of taking money out of their 401k plan to buy a boat. You know what the impact of that is? Usually hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have some stories of friends who, one did the company matching through his company, maxed it out, and had millions of dollars when he retired. Same person had taken money out to pay a down payment on a house and to buy a boat, literally a boat, fishing boat, and had only a few $100,000 in their retirement account. They worked at the same time. They started the same day. They both contributed the maximum, but the impact of that meant the difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars to those two people in their retirements. So how do we go about, first, how much do we want to have in our emergency fund? It's of course up to you. I recommend a minimum of 3 months of living expenses, meaning 3 months of whatever your monthly living expenses are. So if you don't know what they are, which you should have done already when we talked about other subjects, you need to sit down and you have to say, okay, what is the amount I need to survive each month? That means gas, groceries, if you have to job hunting, if you're sick and you need medicine, if you need whatever it is, any type of emergency that could come up. What is a month worth of necessities, not luxury items, dining out or, going to the theater or whatever. What do I need to have in an emergency fund in order to survive per month? And then you take it times the number of months. And depending on your lifestyle and your life situation will determine how many months cushion is probably appropriate. And then also your risk tolerance comfort zone. I always wanted to have at least 6 months of living expenses in the bank in my emergency fund. That's just me. 3 months is the recommended if you're single and don't have any dependents. If you're dual income and you have stable jobs, 3 to 6 months. But how stable are stable jobs nowadays? I've gotten laid off or let go from several jobs in my lifetime. So you just never know, depending on what's going on with the company, that you don't always know what's going on with the company that you're working for. We definitely don't know what's going on in the world and in the environment around us based on the information that we're given. It's pretty much kept secret. So things can change all the time that totally impact our industry that we didn't even anticipate or expect. So I even say dual income, stable jobs, you want to have at least 3 to 6 months. Like I said, I am a 6-month cushion person. And then if you're a single income household or you're freelancing, you want to have 6 to 12 months worth of your living expenses in an emergency fund in case something happens. Because if you can't work, no money's coming in, right? So how do we go about building an emergency fund? Number one, we set a target amount. That's why we want to figure out what are our monthly expenses times the number of months. Cushion makes us feel secure and comfortable. And this is an area where we want to put aside enough to feel secure and comfortable. Because guess what? If you're lucky enough to never have to dig into your emergency fund, it's just another form of putting money aside and paying yourself first. And then you can use it for whatever you want when you've never had an emergency. So for certain times during my life, I've had a 12 to 24 month cushion. Other times I've only had like a 3-month cushion, which I said that made me a little nervous, especially after my sudden cardiac arrest. I'm like, no, I'll never do that again. I'll always have the 12 to 24 months. So 6, 12, 24 months is my prejudiced and personal experience recommendation. Experts would probably tell you 3 months is enough. However, I think that the job market's always changing. I haven't had a job for a long time, so I don't know it personally, but just from young people that I do know and the experiences they're having job hunting and going through jobs, it's like it always has. It can go one way or the other. You land your dream job, or you're struggling to find something and you get in a couple things and you test them out because you don't like them and you move. And every time you move, again, you want that emergency cushion because you don't know that you're going to get another job in 3 months, right? I don't know what to tell you. I've always been fortunate in that my next job came very quickly, but it's not always so. So what's your target amount? 2, open a separate, and this is very important, easily accessible savings account. Easily accessible, but you're never going to access it unless you absolutely positively have an emergency. And if you need to write out how and what an emergency is for you to hold yourself accountable to not digging into that or just stuff that you want to get, maybe there's a new designer outfit or a designer watch or something you want, and you're like, well, that emergency fund's just sitting there not doing anything. Yeah, but as soon as you dig into it for something that you know you shouldn't, subconsciously something will happen. You'll be like, oh my God, I need my emergency fund. I think the universe has a way of keeping us on what's important to us and on the straight and narrow with respect to what our goals and objectives are. That's why we want to set a goal for this and do it. Start small, but stay consistent. Start with what you can, like this week. Don't put it off. If you don't have an emergency fund, figure this out, figure out your amount and start it. You could start it today, right? Honestly, you can set up a bank account online and start having things automatically deposited, within a day or two. But pick an amount. I like to say a weekly amount, even $25 a week adds up to $1,300 a year. So even if we start small, pretty soon we've got that emergency fund built up without it really being painful for us. Step 4 is to use windfalls wisely, meaning tax refunds, bonuses, side hustle income can be used to reach your target more quickly. And then 5, of course, like everything else, we got to reevaluate our situation over time and how much the fund needs to have in it based on our life, our lifestyle, our income, our expenses, etc. Everything changes all the time. So figure out a periodic review time. Maybe it's once or twice a year. I look at mine once a year, but I don't even really look at it anymore because I just have it. I have it set up. It's always there. Let me share a couple of examples of people and what they did. I need a magnifying glass to do that. I love sharing other people's stories because I know what I've done, but I'm not everybody, right? Everybody has a different way of doing it. Maria is a single mom with a side hustle of 2. She's got 2 kids. She works a 9-to-5 job, and she delivers groceries on the weekends. She started with $200 in her emergency fund. So if you've got a little bit, start with it. If you don't, just start where you are. If you have to start at $5, like I said, $5 a week, do it. Do what you can, but start, because it'll grow faster than you can even imagine. So set your goal and start moving toward it by putting some money in. Every delivery tip and child support payment she put in, and then she used cash when her car broke down because she had already built up a $4,000 fund before the end of the year. So she'd saved $4,000 just using her side hustle income, child support, and things that she could put in there, that she found ways to be a little more frugal, not sacrificing anything, but making wise choices and decisions, not doing the impulse buys, not, going out to eat 3-4 times a week, etc. And that financially gave her peace of mind and the ability to handle emergencies without borrowing from her retirement plan, or without borrowing or putting it on credit cards and things, which it's a slippery slope. Credit cards are at such a high percentage rate of interest. Putting things on credit cards is such a scary way to live because you can get behind so quickly, and it takes literally years, if not decades, to catch up. James is a recent college grad, and he started his first post-college with student loans looming. Imagine that. He's got student loans. He knows he has to repay it. He actually set a goal of saving $1,500 in 3 months by reducing dining out and redirecting birthday money. He used a budgeting app and automated transfers so that he didn't even miss that money, because instead of him seeing it, it went directly into his emergency fund, and he didn't spend it because he didn't see it. If you don't see it, you don't spend it. That's been my experience. That's enough. That's enough people's stories. I've got a couple more, but I'll share those for Supersize Your Business. So what are you going to do today? Our action item today is to calculate your monthly expenses. If you haven't done it, set up an emergency fund. Choose what savings account you're going to put it in. Again, make it easily accessible for emergencies, but choose not to access it unless it is a real emergency. Set up your first automatic transfer. You can do all of this week. And then write down your emergency fund goal and track your progress toward it. I say track your progress at least monthly toward that goal until you reach the amount that you need in there. And then always keep that amount in there. So say you have an emergency, your car breaks down, you need $700. You take the $700 out, you pay to get your car fixed, and then you immediately start putting funds back into your emergency fund to get up to your goal number, whatever that is for you. All right, that's it. I would love to know your take on this. Do you have an emergency fund? Do you want to share how much you keep in your emergency fund? I will share. I always have to have $20,000 in my bank account. Now, that's not my emergency fund. That's just my level of sense of well-being, and not wealth, but it's my comfort zone level, right? And each of us set that. Sometimes it's been more, sometimes it's been, I don't know that it's been less where I've been comfortable. It's like that temperature that you feel most comfortable at in your home, and you set your thermostat at. We all have that, you could share that. Well, we might talk about that. That might be a whole day's topic because that's really interesting. Our financial comfort zone set point, because we tend to stay at that unless we set a goal to create a different one. All right. Any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, have an awesome day, and I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.